Okay, so AI, it's everywhere these days, right?
It really is.
From shopping recommendations to even, I mean, this podcast we're recording right now, but behind it all, there's this gold rush happening for AI chips.
Absolutely.
And we're diving deep into this market,
Yeah.
specifically data center AI chips.
Okay.
And we've got this fascinating report,
Mm-hmm.
originally published in Chinese, that gives us some really interesting insights.
Yeah.
And you know me,
Yeah.
I love getting the inside scoop.
Absolutely.
And this report doesn't disappoint.
No, it does not. This report predicts that this market for AI chips is going to nearly double in just 1 year.
Wow.
And by 2027, we could be looking at a market worth over $400 billion.
400 billion with a B.
With a B, that's right.
So that's not
Yeah.
some analyst's wildest dream.
So,
That's got to be based on something more concrete.
you are absolutely right. These are not pie-in-the-sky numbers.
Mm-hmm.
NVIDIA, the biggest name in the game right now, is seeing this firsthand.
Yeah. So what are we talking in terms of actual numbers then?
So NVIDIA, their latest earnings report shows that they've already raked in over $23 billion in revenue from data center AI chips
Wow.
in just the first 9 months of this year.
This is unbelievable.
They're projected to close out the year at nearly $40 billion.
Wow.
And that number could balloon to over $60 billion next year.
So NVIDIA really is the dominant force in this market then.
They are.
Is anybody else even coming close?
Well, there are other players, but the gap is pretty significant. AMD, for example, is projecting a revenue of $2 billion for 2024.
2 billion.
Which is only about 3% of NVIDIA's estimated revenue.
So it sounds like a classic David versus Goliath situation here.
It does, doesn't it?
How is AMD even approaching this?
Well, they're focusing on partnerships.
Hmm?
They've teamed up with some heavy hitters like Microsoft and Meta,
Okay.
hoping to get their chips integrated into those companies' massive cloud platforms.
So if you're using AI-powered tools on Microsoft Azure, for example,
Mm-hmm.
those tools might be running on AMD chips.
That's right.
Clever.
Yeah.
To corner a specific part of the market.
Exactly.
But what about the old guard Intel?
Yeah.
They've got to be in the mix, right?
They are definitely not sitting this one out.
What's their strategy?
They're making a comeback attempt with their new Gaudi 3 chip, designed specifically for data center AI.
Okay.
And their CEO has publicly downplayed NVIDIA's dominance, suggesting it's not as secure as everyone thinks.
Fighting talk.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's just a bold statement or a sign of real confidence, we'll have to wait and see.
I like it.
They haven't actually shared any concrete revenue projections for this sector,
Right.
which makes it hard to gauge their level of confidence.
So we've got AMD playing the partnership game, and then we've got Intel keeping their cards close to their chest.
Yeah,
But this report revealed something really fascinating about NVIDIA's strategy.
right.
They're not just selling chips, they're
Yep.
creating the demand for them.
That's a great way to put it.
How are they doing that?
Their CEO, Jensen Huang, has been on this whirlwind global tour with a very specific message. Every country, regardless of its current technological capabilities, needs to be investing heavily in AI infrastructure.
Wow.
And not just any AI infrastructure built around their own languages and cultures.
So it's not enough to just build a generic AI platform.
Right.
It needs to be tailored to
Exactly.
each region's specific needs.
Exactly. Think about the implications for language processing, for example. An
Mhm.
AI model trained primarily on English text isn't going to be as effective at understanding and generating Chinese text.
That makes sense.
So NVIDIA is essentially saying, hey, if you want to be a player in the AI future, you need to build your own AI ecosystem. And by the way, we've got the chips to power it.
I mean, this is next level thinking.
Yeah.
This isn't just them selling a product.
Mm.
They are shaping the landscape of AI development on a global scale.
That's right. And it's a brilliant strategy from a business perspective. By fostering this demand in emerging markets, NVIDIA reduces its reliance on existing customers who might be tempted to explore alternative suppliers. Or even, and this is the really interesting part, develop their own AI chips in-house.
So it's about staying ahead of the game,
Absolutely.
anticipating that next move.
That's it.
But what does this bake the pie strategy, as you called it, what does it mean for the average person?
Right.
Most of us aren't building data centers in our backyards.
That's a great question. While you might not be building a data center anytime soon, the advancements fueled by this competition in the AI chip market will impact all of us.
In what way?
We're talking about advancements that will revolutionize everything from healthcare to transportation and even entertainment.
So this isn't just about tech companies duking it out. This is about shaping the future, our future.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole AI chip race so fascinating.
It's like a sporting event almost.
It is.
But the stakes are so much higher.
It's not just about who has the fastest chip today, but who can anticipate and adapt to the changing demands of the AI landscape tomorrow.
And speaking of adapting, we haven't even touched upon the potential for disruption in this market.
You're right.
Because while we've been focusing on the big names like NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel, there's always a chance a new player could emerge, someone with a game-changing innovation that could shake things up. It's happened before in the tech world.
Many times.
And it could definitely happen again.
Absolutely.
So we've got this three-way battle royale shaping up NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel, but then you're also saying that there's a chance that
like a wild card.
A wild card comes in and just disrupts everything.
Exactly, and that's what keeps things so interesting.
But that would happen.
It really makes you think, what does it take to be a major player in the tech world these days? Is it enough to just have the best product?
Right.
Or do you need to be thinking 10 steps ahead, like NVIDIA seems to be doing? Well, and that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's no longer enough to simply create a fantastic product. You have to create the demand for that product, sometimes even before it exists.
It's like that old saying, build it and they will come.
Right.
Except now it's like, convince them they need it.
Yes.
And then build it.
That's it. You need to create that sense of urgency, that sense of necessity. And that's what NVIDIA is doing so brilliantly. They're going to these countries and saying, look, the future is AI. If you don't get on board, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder about the potential downsides to that.
Right.
What happens if everyone is so reliant on NVIDIA?
Right. What if they have a monopoly?
That they have a monopoly over the entire AI landscape.
It's a question that governments and regulatory bodies are already grappling with.
Yeah, because it's one thing for a company to have a great product and to have a really smart strategy, but it's another thing entirely if they become too powerful.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so crucial to have competition in the market. That's where companies like AMD and Intel come in.
Right, because they offer an alternative, a different path.
Yeah.
But can they really compete with this dominance that NVIDIA has right now?
Well, let's start with AMD. Their strategy is all about focusing on specific segments of the market, partnering with key players like Microsoft and Meta.
So rather than taking NVIDIA head-on, they're going for a more targeted approach.
Exactly. It's about leveraging their strengths and finding those niches where they can excel. The challenge for AMD will be scaling up their operations and production to a point where they can truly challenge NVIDIA's market share.
Yeah, it's like trying to catch a runaway train. What about Intel?
Right.
They've been awfully quiet.
Very quiet. Aside from their CEO's comments about NVIDIA's vulnerability, they've been relatively tight-lipped about their specific plans, but we do know they're pinning their hopes on the Gaudi 3 chip.
So they're betting big on this new technology.
They are.
What makes the Gaudi 3 so special? How does it stack up against what NVIDIA's offering?
Well, the Gaudi 3 is designed specifically for AI workloads, particularly in those massive data centers we've been talking about. It boasts impressive processing power and energy efficiency, which are crucial factors in the data center world.
So they're focusing on performance and efficiency.
Yes.
Smart. But is it enough?
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Only time will tell if that Gaudi 3 can really compete with NVIDIA's dominance. One thing's for sure, though. Intel has the resources and the technological expertise to be a major player in this market.
So it's like a David and Goliath story, but this time there's two Davids.
Right.
AMD and Intel both trying to chip away at the lead that NVIDIA has built.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog.
I love that.
That matters.
And it really is true, because this isn't just about who has the biggest market share right now. It's about who can innovate and adapt.
It's about who can outmaneuver the competition in the long run.
Yeah.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe that wild card will emerge someone with a completely new approach that turns the entire AI chip market on its head.
Now, wouldn't that be something? It's like watching a game of chess where the board keeps expanding and the pieces keep changing.
It really is fascinating.
It's almost like we need a whole other deep dive just to keep track of all the moving pieces here. But that actually brings up something we haven't really touched on yet. What does all this mean for the companies that are buying these AI chips?
Right.
Companies like Microsoft and Meta.
Yeah.
I mean, they're relying on these suppliers, but what if they become competitors?
Now you're thinking like a true disruptor. That's a fascinating scenario to consider. Yeah. Because let's be honest, these companies have the resources, the talent, and they're already deeply invested in AI, It wouldn't be that far-fetched for them to start developing their own AI chips in-house.
So instead of ordering off the menu, they just decide to build their own kitchen.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe they come up with a recipe that's even better, or at least better suited to their very specific needs. They could control the entire process, from chip design to integration with their platforms.
That would certainly shake things up. Imagine the headlines, Facebook to make its own AI chips, taking on NVIDIA.
I know, right? It would be huge. It'd be a seismic shift in the tech landscape, and it highlights something really important. The future of AI is still very much unwritten. The companies we've been talking about, they're all vying for position, trying to anticipate that next big move.
So for our listeners who've been on this wild ride with us, what's the key takeaway here? What should they be paying attention to as this AI chip saga unfolds?
I'd say this. Don't just focus on the chips themselves. Pay attention to the strategies, the partnerships, and the motivations of the players involved. The future of AI isn't just about who builds the fastest chip today. It's about who understands how to wield the power of this technology to shape the world tomorrow.
It's not just about the tech, it's about the people behind the tech. And the decisions they make are going to have ripple effects far beyond the world of data centers and microchips.
100%.
Okay.
This is a story with global implications, and it's just getting started.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today. It's been a wild ride through the world of AI chips with billion-dollar battles, global domination strategies, and the potential for some major shakeups on the horizon.
The best part is we're all just along for the ride. We get to see how this all plays out.
That we do. A huge thank you to you for joining me on this deep dive, and to our listeners for tuning in. We'll be back next time with another fascinating journey into the world of tech. Until then, stay curious.